800-378-3212. That's 800-378-3212.
And welcome. It is time for the Legal Lounge here on CRN Digital Talk Radio, crntalk.com. I'm joined by Richard Nixon, a noted attorney, scholar, author, America, An Illusion of Freedom, available wherever fine books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, iTunes as well. And a big show, we're talking about Roger Stone. Roger Stone arrested in a pre-dawn raid. 37 armed federal agents descended upon his quiet Florida abode, took him into custody, and he was subsequently released on a $250,000 surety bond. And Richard, political or not?
Well, again, as we said earlier, where's the ACLU here? I know years ago the ACLU actually defended the Nazi Party and their right to parade in Skokie, Illinois. No one there, of course, appreciated the fact, or was that message, the KKK message was not welcome there. But the ACLU argued for their First Amendment freedoms. And the question again is, where is Roger Stone's freedoms here?
Yeah, it's this leads into selective prosecution. Plenty of people have come up before Congress and I wouldn't necessarily say lied, but maybe embellished the truth, which is one and the same when it comes to the statute. And this seems to me like a little bit of selective persecution. It seems to me also that Mueller is using the power of his investigative forces to compel people to testify like it's some sort of mafia case over here. What's your take on that, Richard?
Well, again, if lying is the pretext for arresting all these people, and I'm not the first to suggest this, but people like Comey, Brennan, Clapper, and Mrs. Clinton, to name just a few, they've all lied, as I understand it, before Congress, and they've been given a clean bill of health. Now, it looks like selective prosecution here, which is something no different than what we accuse other countries like Cuba, China, and North Korea of doing. One of the reasons we don't have normal relations with Cuba is because they refuse to release their political prisoners from jail. People who simply speak out against the government are jailed. And that's exactly what we're doing here. These people who are, if you will, anti-liberal are the ones that are being prosecuted by Brennan and Mueller and so on.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And we're going to, I'm sure, hear a lot more about that. Of course, Mr. Stone pleaded not guilty to all charges, and he has vowed that he will fight these charges till the bitter end because, quote, he is innocent, unquote, according to Mr. Stone. And Richard, the Ninth Circuit, our friends on the Ninth Circuit, these learned people there sitting on the bench of the Ninth Circuit, they have been up to it again. This is an interesting case. This is the U.S. versus Sinenning Smith, and this has to do with speech. We talk a lot about speech on this show and also about immigration, an issue that's close to Richard's heart and a lot of our listeners' heart as well. And this is an interesting case. The defendant, Evelyn Sieng Smith, was convicted on 2 counts of encouraging and inducing an alien to remain in the United States for the purpose of financial gain. What she did was she ran what was a service, you'd say, that funneled undocumented immigrants, mostly from the Philippines and Southeast Asia, to come work as healthcare workers. And she encouraged these people to violate the law by coming here illegally, and also would help herself to a piece of their wages. And in this case, actually, she was convicted and served and was sentenced to 18 months, but it was reversed on appeal. Richard, give us the breakdown of what happened here.
Well, yes, and again, basically what she did was she applied for labor certification to obtain green cards, despite the fact that the certification process had expired. Now, under the law, basically, any person who encourages or induces an alien to come to, enter, or reside in the United States illegally is guilty of that particular felony. Well, what the Ninth Circuit did is they said, well, since this language could be misconstrued, if you will, by the prosecutor to the point where even innocent little grandma could say to her little grandson, gee, it'd be nice if you could just stay here even though you're illegal, that even grandma could be prosecuted. And of course, one of the problems is that that is not what happened in this case. In this case, it was clearly a hardcore violation It had nothing to do with the free speech, but this judge and the Ninth Circuit found a violation of the First Amendment because it could possibly be construed to punish a person for their First Amendment freedoms.
And yes, that's what the court ruled, that we must decide whether subsection 4 of that statute that you just mentioned abridges constitutionally protected speech. But the question is, and I have for you, Richard, who decides what encourages or induces mean? This is once again a case of language being manipulated for the court's political agenda.
Well, again, and that's what the prosecutor was saying, is we do not intend, we've never prosecuted any grandmothers, if you will, for encouraging their grandsons to stay in this country. We're only talking about people who, by conduct, encourages, like this particular person in this case, clearly submitted documentation and encouraged these people to stay in this country in spite of the fact that the program, the certification program, had expired.
And there's a legal term of art that you painstakingly described to me yesterday, because I had a hard time grasping the concept, and thank you for that education. That there's a Latin phrase which roughly translates to things done versus things said. Can you give us a background on this res gestae?
Well, yes, this res gestae, as they pronounce it, is basically what it's saying is, for instance, in an example, sample where a person puts a gun to some people and says, your money or your life. Some attorneys have actually argued that that phrase there, that clause or that sentence, because the bad guy had a right to his First Amendment freedoms like everyone else, that sentence could not be used to show what his intent was, that is, that he was protected, and that could not be used against him. And of course, the court held that no, that language is simply part and parcel of the robbery itself, or attempted robbery, and therefore they were not fooled by this First Amendment prescription.
Because I've several criminal cases that I've read about, for example, a bank robbery. Someone comes into the bank, they says, everybody on the floor, this is a robbery. Just by saying that this is a robbery, everybody on the floor, and you have a weapon on you too, there's a threatening act, that becomes kidnapping. That becomes that you are now charged with kidnapping.
Absolutely. And again, this is the Ninth Circuit's, and this is a reason why the Ninth Circuit is reversed so much. I think if you read this case, you'll see why. Because they stretch as far as they can to find something innocent about someone who's actually clearly violating the law regarding immigration. The Ninth Circuit is anti-Trump, quite frankly, and pro-illegal immigrant, and that's what this case actually shows.
And this is fascinating to me, because these aren't elected positions; these are appointed positions, and I just wonder why maybe it's because they're in California and they're drinking the water or something like that. Why is the Ninth Circuit particularly liberal on these issues?
Who knows? But again, this is why when you mentioned that Garcetti has decided not to run for president, yeah. I think the only people who would vote for him, quite frankly, would be Californians. Yeah. And those blue-collar guys that are in the Rust Belt, there's no way they're going to vote for Garcetti anyway.
No, sir. We're going to be right back right after the break, you guys. Talk more about the Ninth Circuit. We have a very, very interesting article and some interesting quotes that need to be said about the Ninth Circuit and about the constitutional powers of the executive branch, especially when it comes vis-a-vis to immigration, you guys. We'll be right back. Give us a call, 818-818-6401. That's 818-818-6401. Or shoot us an email, richardnixon@crntalk.com. We'll be right back right after the break. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/CRNTalk. Also, check out Richard's Facebook page as well. Just search Richard Nixon on Facebook, and check out his website, www.pres37th.wix.com/America. And we're on YouTube. Just search Richard Nixon Live on YouTube. Be right back right after the break.
Located in the heart of Maui's premier resorts, Kaanapali Beach Hotel is officially recognized as Hawaii's most Hawaiian hotel and the #1 best value in Hawaii. With a range of accommodations and affordable dining options, this is the ideal setting to turn Hawaiian dreams into lifelong memories. Live Hawaiian entertainment every evening, free year-round children's programs, weekly arts and crafts fairs, welcome breakfast, and departure kukui lei ceremonies add to the value. Swim in the whale-shaped pool, indulge in the fabulous spa and hotel salon. Enjoy Hawaiian hospitality at its best at the Kaanapali Beach Hotel. Call 800-262-8450 or go to kbhmaui.com. That's kbhmaui.com. Aloha.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Their expert staff can help you turn your book idea into a real book, a masterpiece that could someday make the bestseller list in hard copy and digitally all across the world. Page Publishing can help you completely take your idea for a book, write it, and publish it. So if you want to join the ranks of some of the most famous authors in the world, call now for a free information kit. Turn your book idea into publishing gold. Make a free call right now to Page Publishing.
800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. 800-378-3212. That's 800-378-3212.
Hi everyone, this is Fred Dreyer telling you about my favorite Italian restaurant. It's Angelo's and Vinci's in Fullerton, California. Angelo's and Vinci's has the best pasta, the best seafood, the best salads, spaghetti, lasagna, and the most incredible pizza. And the chicken is delicious. Marsala, piccata, cacciatore, parmigiana, and more. For desserts, try our spumoni or our tiramisu, my favorite, flown in fresh from Italy. And the cannolis and the zeppolis are out of this world. Open for lunch and dinner, and don't miss the Sunday champagne brunch. Just $21.95, are you kidding? It's all up the road from Disneyland at 550 North Harbor Boulevard in Fullerton, California. Angelo's and Vinci's, like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci. Call 714-879-4022 or visit us online at angeloandvincis.com.
We are back. Richard Nixon live here in the Legal Lounge on CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com, streaming coast to coast and around the world on CRNTalk.com, as well as on Facebook.com/CRNTalk. And like I said before the break, all previous sessions are available on YouTube as well. Search CRN Digital Talk on YouTube and find Richard Nixon's playlist. There's a lot up there, and they're all fantastic. Talking to Richard Nixon, a noted author of America, An Illusion of Freedom, and a friend of the show, John Eastman, wrote an article recently that seems straight out of Chapter 7 of your fantastic book, Richard. Give us the background on this great treatise that John wrote.
Well, yes. Basically, John was saying that Mr. Eastman, Professor Eastman, was saying that, like it or not, Donald Trump was elected president. And even though the Ninth Circuit and other circuits do their best to frustrate his proper role as president, the statutes, for instance, Section 1182F of Title VIII, says very clearly regarding his authority regarding immigrants, if you will, that whenever the president finds that the entry of any alien or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he, that is the president, by proclamation, and for such period as shall deem necessary, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on the entry of aliens any restriction he may deem to be appropriate. And to that extent, there's no question, without using the so-called emergency powers, that he can literally shut down the border and prevent anyone else from entering. And it does not get much clearer than that, and yet the Ninth Circuit still seems to be hesitant to recognize the president and his proper role.
And the Ninth Circuit, the rationale is it comes back to our old friend, the Due Process Clause of the Fifth Amendment, saying that any immigrant that's denied the visa or for foreign nationals has violated the Due Process Clause of the Fifth Amendment. Does that hold water to you, Richard?
It does not, because even the Fifth Circuit has said that revocation of a visa has no effect upon the aliens' liberty or property interests. In other words, they have no property or liberty interest at that point. The power that the president has been enhanced by what Congress gave them, and we just read the one section. There are other sections that basically reaffirm the same thing and basically say, for instance, 1201 of Title VIII expressly says that the Secretary of State, who is, of course, accountable directly to the president, may at any time in his discretion revoke any visa already issued. The statute also provides that there shall be no means of judicial review of a revocation of a visa under the law except in the context of a removal proceeding if such revocation provides the sole ground for removal. So the point is, under Article 3, Section 2, Paragraph 2, which we've talked about in previous sessions, Congress has given, or I should say Congress has withheld, jurisdiction from the courts to deal with the president and his power, his plenary power, to deal with illegal aliens as he so pleases.
And not only is this outlined in Article 3, like you said, Richard, there's precedent for this, not only constitutionally, precedents for this practically. President Carter utilized this provision that we're talking about when he revoked visas of numerous Iranian students and citizens in the U.S. at the time of the embassy takeover, and no one was crying about that.
Absolutely. And again, as Mr. Professor Eastman says, whether or not a particular judge or panel of judges likes the policy judgment made by the president, it is the president, not the judge, who was elected to make that decision.
And Richard, we got about a minute before the break, and there's
Sure.
something right before from your fantastic book, American Illusion of Freedom, from Chapter 7. The Supreme Court has itself recognized. There's a quote here about the exclusion of aliens. Can you read that for us, please?
Absolutely. It basically says whether or not to admit aliens or any class of aliens is an inherent aspect of sovereignty vested by our Constitution in the legislative and executive branches of our government, and it is largely immune from judicial control. That's the Knopf case, cited in my book. Thank you.
Very nice. Chapter 7 of Richard's fantastic book, America, An Illusion of Freedom. It's available wherever fine books are sold, on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, as well as on iTunes. You can also order it from his website, www.pres37th.wix.com/America. That's www.pres37th.wix.com/America. We'll be right back right after the break. More with Richard Nixon live here in the Legal Lounge on CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com, Facebook.com/CRN Talk. Stay with us.
We are the debt destroyer. Any debt you have, credit card, tax, student loan debt. Call now to get our free report that tells you how to destroy your debt. It's a great resource. Plus, when you make this free call right now, we'll have a debt destroyer expert ready to help you. They can show you how they can help you destroy your debt and get your life back on track. Debt problems don't have to be overwhelming. You can live stress-free and debt-free. Credit cards, medical bills, IRS tax problems, even student loan debt. Learn about free programs offered by the credit card companies, hospitals, and even the government that can help you slash your debt. Call right now for free information, including our Debt Destroyer Guide, a $300 value, yours free. Call right now.
800-515-6348. 800-515-6348. That's 800-515-6348.
You check things all the time, like your email every 10 seconds, or your ex's Instagram. But what about checking something as important as your credit? Well, Discover makes it quick, easy, and best of all, free. Discover is now offering FICO credit scores to everyone for free, even if you're not a customer. And checking your score won't hurt your credit. We call it the Discover Credit Scorecard. And once you know your score, you should check to see if your current credit card is the best fit for you. Check your credit, compare your card. Go to discover.com/credit scorecard. Limitations apply.
When you really want Italian food, you have got to get to Columbo's. Columbo's Italian Steakhouse and Jazz Club, Colorado Boulevard, Eagle Rock. It's that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. We're into the new year, new challenges, new people and places. But isn't it good to know that some things remain the same? And that's Columbo's. Columbo's is something you can always count on. Great steaks, the finest fish, Columbo's family Italian specialties, jazz every night, and the world's greatest meatballs, and service that makes you feel at home. What's surprising is that Columbo's has been doing it right since 1954 and still going strong. And Valentine's Day is right around the corner. It's time to make your reservation. 323-254-9138. 323-254-9138. Columbo's. You know, that little neighborhood place you wish was down the street from you. Columbo's. Mangia.
Enjoy Tiki Live, the best cable alternative choice today, with hundreds of premium live TV programming, including ESPN, CNN, Fox News, Disney, AMC, Bravo, XF, OWN, and CRN Talk. Plus no contracts and low month-to-month service. Tiki Live, servicing North America, including the Caribbean. To get started, visit TikiLive.com to order hundreds of channels, including CRN Talk, at a fraction of what you're paying today. Visit TikiLive.com. That's TikiLive.com.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS? Newsflash, the president has changed the tax laws, and now you may be able to pay the IRS less. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, the tax doctor can help you pay the IRS as little as possible allowed by law. There are new tax laws for business owners, the self-employed, even W-2 workers. If you have a back tax problem or a few years of unfilled returns, new help to save you money is now here. Call right now to see how the new tax laws can help you. Plus, right now, we'll waive the consultation fee and give you a free tax savings report. Attention business owners, the self-employed, and W-2 workers. Make this free call to the tax doctor now and learn how to take advantage of the new tax laws that may help you pay the IRS less. 800-985-1610. 800-985-1610. 800-985-1610. That's 800-985-1610.
And we are back. Richard and Nixon live here in the Legal Lounge on CRN Digital Talk Radio, CRNTalk.com, streaming live coast to coast and around the world, CRNTalk.com, Facebook.com/CRNTalk. I'm joined by Richard Nixon. He's a noted attorney, a constitutional scholar, author, America, An Illusion of Freedom, available wherever fine books are sold, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and iTunes, Corvette aficionado, and amateur Conga player. So, Richard, there was a little bit of a brouhaha last week, we might say, there was an incident that happened on Capitol Hill during the Right to Life March that was attended by lots of pro-life groups, conservative groups and religious groups. One of these groups was the Covington High School, for a small private parochial school in Kentucky, I believe. And there was a big brouhaha saying that, these group of students wearing MAGA hats attacked this Native American protester on the National Mall. Well, there was more to meet the story. It was actually, there was, I guess you'd kind of say, a participation on both sides, and the initial response of the media was almost unanimously to condemn these high school students rather than waiting for the full story to emerge. And when that full story did emerge, interestingly enough, the story was off the front page. And this led to some interesting piece of sound that we have from friends of the show.
Yes, it did.
Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar of The View regarding the reaction from the media about this particular situation. Let's give that a listen.
So many people admitted they made snap judgments before these other facts came in. But is it that we just instantly say that's what it is based on what we see in that moment, and then have to walk stuff back when it turns out we're wrong? Why is that? Do we keep making the same mistake?
Because we're desperate to get Trump out of office.
That is, I give kudos to Joy for absolutely telling the truth. She's literally said what we already knew, that it's the media, the Democrat Party, and so on, that is desperately trying to get this president out of office, no matter how. And every day they're looking for some other vehicle by which to get rid of him.
And it really does disservice to their ultimate objective and motive, because every time they jump the gun on situations like this, calling something for what it not is, for not really investigating the facts and jumping to the worst conclusions about the situation vis-a-vis Trump, that really strengthens the resolve of supporters, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and I think it's going to have a backlash here, because those people who voted for Trump, those people in the Rust Belt, if you will, these blue-collar people who would normally vote Democrat, are on his side now, and they can see where he gets his idea of fake news and so on. It all plays into the narrative that the Democrats, the media in general, are simply out to get Trump and get him removed. And I wonder why, because if anybody's honest about what Mr. Trump has done, and I know, Mike, you've compiled a long list. I'll only mention 2 or 3 things here, if you don't mind. And for instance, almost 4 million jobs have been created since Mr. Trump was elected. More Americans are now employed than ever in any time in history. We've created more than 400,000 manufacturing jobs. And especially important to some of the minority groups is we have fewer African American, Hispanic, Asian, and women unemployed than any time in maybe the last 60 years.
And just really news today was that Walmart says they're going to add hundreds of new truck driver jobs, starting pay $90,000 a year.
Absolutely, that's good money, Mike, for sure. And again, playing consistent with President Trump's theme, you don't have to be a college graduate to drive a truck. And that's what he's pushing too. Not everyone has to go to college.
Yeah, and I think that's important to realize out there. Only about 35% of all Americans of working age have college degrees. There's quite a market for people call them unskilled laborers, but I think that does a misnomer. Actually, being a truck driver is a very skillful profession. Being a plumber, that takes a lot of skill, a lot of apprenticeship, and a lot of study as well. I think that our brothers and sisters on the left, when they insist about retraining and refocusing on the jobs of tomorrow, yeah, there's a lot of validity in that, but still, there's plenty of service jobs in this economy that need to be filled that are high-paying jobs.
And not only that, many of those jobs, you're basically immune from foreign competition. A plumber, a carpenter, etc., once they've honed their skills, there's nothing from another country that can replace them.
But some of our brothers and sisters on the left would say that some of these jobs have become less desirable now with some would say the demise of the private sector unions.
Well, yes, but some of your brothers and sisters from the left should recognize that it's the influx of illegal immigrants that has also put a downward pressure on what a bona fide legal citizen can demand for his work.
Exactly. That's a good point, Richard, because oftentimes when illegal immigrants, or even legal immigrants who come in and fill these unskilled labor jobs in the service sector and also in the construction sector, they have no interest in collective bargaining or being involved in the process of organized labor in general, and I think that's left the unions somewhat powerless as well. And yeah, a lot of accomplishments too, but Harley-Davidson was in the news today saying that their profit margin this year has suffered because of the tariffs. What do you think about that, Richard?
Well, again, I know that that's one of the reasons when I'm asked different of my more liberal friends what they find distasteful about all these, quote, accomplishments of President Trump. And one of the things they always mention is Harley-Davidson. And of course, I do understand that if the price of aluminum and steel goes up, because we're going to have less imported to our country and more made here, that companies who use steel and aluminum will, if you will, suffer. But I think that's inevitable. I don't know how much of Harley-Davidson's complaint is really legitimate, but I think there are people who will, companies who will suffer something during the readjustment.
Well, I as someone who has a little bit of Harley-Davidson stock in an index fund, I actually researched this Harley-Davidson situation with their stock price and profit margin. And what Harley-Davidson did this year, the past 2 years, is they've made a corporate strategic decision to pivot to electric motorcycles, which I can't think of anything more off-brand than Harley-Davidson pivoting to electric motorcycles. And they've put a lot of cash, a lot of capital into research and development, which have not bared fruit in sales, and I don't think will bear fruit in sales. Harley-Davidsons are known for their big, loud engines, and no one wants to ride around in a Harley that's running quiet. So we're going to be right back right after the break, you guys. Stick around. Richard Nixon live here on CRN Digital Talk Radio at crntalk.com.
So they've, to a certain extent, created their own problem.
They did, yes. Yeah. It was bad foresight on Harley-Davidson's corporate policies, and it's costing me some money, Richard. We'll be right back right after the break. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Richard Nixon live here on CRN Digital Talk Radio, crntalk.com.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
The smartest way for you to get the lowest prices on your plane tickets, domestic or international, is to call SmartFares first or last, but you've got to call us before you book your plane tickets. Fly anywhere in the world, fly anywhere in the U.S., and SmartFares can save you up to 75% on your plane tickets. We have the lowest airline ticket prices on over 500 airlines, and you've got a great 12-hour free cancellation window. Plus, with our live agent help, you can always get fast help and fast answers. So on your next trip, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, how about right now? Pick up your phone and call SmartFares, plus save up to 75% on your plane reservation. So call right now. 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644.
And we are back. Richard Nixon live here in the Legal Lounge, CRN Digital Talk Radio, crntalk.com. I'm joined by Richard Nixon, a practicing attorney, noted author of America, An Illusion of Freedom, a veteran. Thank you for your service, Richard.
You're so welcome.
We appreciate it. And if any of our vets out there who are listening and they knew Richard personally during his time of service, 63, 65 stateside, or 68 in Vietnam as a contractor, let us know. Give us a call, 818-818-6400. We'd be happy to provide you with a free book, Richard's America, An Illusion of Freedom. And speaking of the military, Richard, Karnofsky versus Trump. This is an interesting case. This was the case that resulted of Trump's order via tweet in 2017 saying that we need to not allow transgender service members to serve in the military. And that spurned several lawsuits, specifically this Karnofsky versus Trump. And once again, the rationale from Karnofsky, the plaintiff, says that this ban on transgender people in the military is a violation of the Equal Protection and the Due Process Clauses of the Fifth Amendment. Give us your thoughts on this case as a veteran and as a lawyer.
Well, as far as the equal protection goes, we've talked about equal protection in previous sessions, Mike. The idea of equal protection has been bastardized by the courts to the extent that it no longer really even closely resembles what was originally intended. Remember, the Equal Protection Clause comes from the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause. That applies to the states, of 1868 and basically was intended to make sure that the people who had been slaves were now treated equally with the non-slaves. That was its sole purpose, period. Now it's being used by the courts to equalize any perceived inequality that the court deems requires some kind of remedy. In this case, whether a person is gay or straight or a member of the LGBT community or not has absolutely nothing to do with equal protection or due process. And the Army, the military, the president has every right to control who is in and out of the military, and especially because their sole purpose is a military mission. We're not concerned with social programs and whether or not people are treated properly or equally.
Yeah, the due process clause, like you said, protects against unequal treatment by the federal government and protects against the deprivation of life, liberty, and property. And citizen military service, voluntary service in the military, doesn't seem to me that it violates any of the life, liberty, or property. I mean, in fact, when you join the military, you pretty much give up your liberty.
Absolutely.
Once you sign the contract, I mean, they pretty much own you.
But again, it's the court raising its head, saying that they will determine social programs for us, in spite of the fact, and the irony being that these are, of all the people in our country that are part of our federal government, the president and the Congress are the only ones that are elected. They properly make decisions for the people. The third branch, the judiciary, is explicitly not elected by the people. They're appointed by the president and okayed by the Senate. They are making these decisions, and it's clearly counter to what our founding fathers ever intended.
Very well put. And yes, the way that this case is resolving itself, it's kind of in a holding pattern right now. It has, on November 7th, this is a couple months ago, the defendants petitioned the Supreme Court of the United States asking the court to accept the case for review immediately without waiting for the Ninth Circuit to decide their appeal, which I think is smart strategy because we all know which way the wind blows in the Ninth Circuit. And the Supreme Court issued a 5-4 order split along ideological lines. And in January 2019, that lifted the stay on the order while Karnofsky and the related cases will still be deliberated. So we'll make sure to see that in the future in the Supreme Court, and we will keep all of our listeners abreast on that. Moving on real fast. So this is interesting. Over the weekend, Ann Coulter, who's a very far-right gadfly, some might say, she took some shots at Trump, Richard. She says after the Trump came to an agreement regarding the government shutdown, temporarily opening the government for 3 weeks until a deal on border security can be reached, Ann Coulter, who I might have to say, unlike you, Richard, never served a day in the military, said that President Trump is now the weakest president in the history of this great nation, surpassing George Herbert Walker Bush. Richard, your thoughts?
Well, I think, although she's a fellow conservative, I think she's given to slight hyperbole there. She's expressed her views, and of course, if a person shoves a microphone in her face, she'll say something exotic, extreme, etc. But I think she doesn't understand what President Trump does. He always fires out salvos, several salvos, sometimes irreconcilable salvos, to throw everybody off. In fact, the previous president, the other Richard Nixon, used that as a theme himself because he wanted the, quote, enemies of America to not know what he was thinking. He wanted to appear crazy enough that he would push the atomic button if you pushed him too far. As contrasted with a President Carter, who was a very good, decent, but predictable human being. Trump thrives on being unpredictable, and I say he's simply on his road to getting the deal that he always wanted.
I want to talk about that after the break, Richard, to wrap things up about where this stands moving forward. We have a 3-week deal of what's known as a continuing resolution to keep the government open and funded until then, and then he wants to have a deal worked out which provides funding for border security, a.k.a. the wall, and it's interesting now the ball's in the Democrats' court, Nancy Pelosi's court, which I think is sound strategy on the president's part, which puts the onus on that. We're going to talk about that right after the break. Richard Nixon live here on CRN Digital Talk Radio, crntalk.com, facebook.com/CRN Talk. We'll be right back right after the break. Stay with us.
experiencing pain, back pain, shoulder, elbow, or hand pain, pain from a sports injury? If so, schedule a visit with Dr. Michael Sheps, the leading expert in laser therapy for pain management. Call 310-873-4422 or go to drsheps.com. Experience Epic T, the breakthrough laser therapy system that Dr. Sheps developed to make you pain-free in less time. Laser therapy is a non-invasive, safe, and effective in-office procedure that penetrates deep into your skin without damaging the tissue. It perfectly targets areas of pain to promote fast, natural healing. Relax your muscles, ease muscle spasms, joint stiffness, and arthritis pain while increasing blood circulation. For over 25 years, Dr. Sheps has helped Olympic athletes and sports enthusiasts alike get back in the game. Schedule your visit with Dr. Sheps at his Brentwood office in California. Call 310-873-4422 or visit drsheps.com. That's DRSHEPS.com. 310-873-4422.
Do you want to fly somewhere, anywhere in the world? Smart travelers call myflightsearch.com for the best deals on flight tickets. Going to Manila, Bangkok, London, how about Singapore? Call myflightsearch.com for the lowest flight tickets available. What about a local vacation? Let's say you want to fly to Vegas, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, or Denver. Pick up the phone and call myflightsearch.com right now. We have exclusive deals that you can't find anywhere else. The only way you can get these low airline prices is by calling us. We have so many low prices available, we can't possibly tell them to you right here and now. If you're flying somewhere anytime in the next 6 months and you want the lowest airline ticket prices anywhere, you owe it to yourself to save a ton of money. So pick up your cell phone and call myflightsearch.com right now.
Call 800-445-3166. 800-445-3166. That's 800-445-3166. Call now. 800-445-3166.
For the getaway of your dreams, come to Hawaii's Playground, Ka'anapali Beach Resort, on the fun side of Maui, where the world comes to play. Find your spot on Ka'anapali Beach with 3 miles of white sand, 12 resort properties, 2 golf courses, and 2 shopping centers. Enjoy the playground of Hawaii's ancient royalty. Ka'anapali Beach Resort is Hawaii's original master plan destination resort and home of the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. With views of 2 neighboring islands, you can breathe in the land's natural beauty from your favorite resort or golf fairway. Come experience Ka'anapali's own special brand of Hawaiian hospitality with world-class dining, relaxing resorts, water sports, and activities of every kind. For romantic, family, and great friend getaways, discover the options of Ka'anapali Beach Resort, where the world comes to play. Plan your getaway today. Visit Ka'anapaliResort.com. That's KAANAPALI Resort.com.
And we are back. Richard Nixon live in the Legal Lounge, ratcheting things up. Thank you so much for joining us. We are here every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Replays throughout the week and also on the weekend. Also available on YouTube, youtube.com/CRN Talk. Check out our channel, all of our previous sessions there. Richard, so this very good point about the shutdown vis-a-vis Ann Coulter's remarks about the president. And what do you think of his strategy moving forward? So, basically, he says we're going to fund the government for 3 weeks, and in those 3 weeks, we need to hash out an agreement. Both sides need to come together, fund border security, and therefore have the government open henceforth. What do you think about his strategy?
I think his strategy is brilliant. I think that he's put her in a box, quite frankly. That is Miss Pelosi. She's been saying all along that she would not talk until he reopened the government. There's no question. People have argued about, well, who really closed the government? And 37% say he did, 37% say she did. He closed the government. That is Mr. Trump. However, who opened the government? He did 100%. He, quite frankly, had more compassion for these 800,000 people who were suffering as a result of the shutdown than did she or Mr. Schumer. And I think what he's done is he's treated her like a lady. He's acted like a gentleman and said, okay, if Miss Pelosi wants to, she will not talk until we open the government. We'll open it. She's got 3 weeks to do what she promised she would do. And if at that point she won't do it, then he has no choice but to either shut it down again or use his emergency powers. I think he's manipulated her into a position where she cannot win.
I think he's definitely he's taken the high ground, you might say. Not
yes,
high ground, and I think that can be viewed both ways, morally and also practically, because now the onus is on Nancy Pelosi, like you said, and the Democrats to come to the table, have some sort of agreement. And now the Democrats have become the hardliners. They're the ones saying that no, we will not include one penny for the wall.
And not only that, Mike, but you see what happens is the media criticizes itself, but then it does the same thing over. Chuck Schumer was quick to say that he lost, he caved, and that that is Miss Pelosi, won. That who won and lost is not the issue here. And yet, just like kids, they go back to that same syllogism, and what they should be concerned with is fixing the problem.
Absolutely. And now there's talk that Congress might enact legislation which will prevent further government shutdowns by pretty much banning government shutdowns.
I don't see how. First of all, do you think the president is going to sign it?
No, I don't think so.
And unless they have enough to override his veto, I don't think the president would sign it. Why would he bind future presidents?
And one thing I think that really could resolve this too, these government shutdowns, which seems to be happening more frequently now, is that not only shouldn't if you want to shut down the government, but that means that those senators and those Congress people shouldn't get paid either.
Not only that, but it used to be where there's 12 different appropriations bills. They used to be done one a month, and they were done for a full year. There was never a continuing resolution until the last, I'm going to guess, 10 or 15 years. That's when they started this month at a time stuff. If we went back to the way it used to be, we'd have no possibility of shutting it down.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be something to look for. I'm definitely going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this coming in 2 weeks when this deadline approaches, and see what sort of agreement has been met, if any. Richard Nixon, thank you so much for joining us and educating me and our listeners.
Well, you're so welcome.
All right, you guys, we are here every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Also are available throughout the week on replay and also on YouTube. Check us out, youtube.com. Just search CRN Talk, and we want to hear from our vets, and also send us some emails. Richard and Nixon at crntalk.com, and check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/CRN Talk. Richard, until next week.
Thank you, and here's to Kamala Harris, the best-looking Democrat running so far.
Based on looks, she's got my vote, that's for sure. And Eric Garcetti, good call not running, because you would have got cream. We'll be back next week, you guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for everybody involved. CRN Digital Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week here on the Legal Lounge. Richard Nixon live on CRNTalk.com.